The invitation arrived in an envelope the color of frost, immaculate, formal, impersonal. You're invited to dinner with the Langfords. Business attire expected. No guests allowed. Sienna Reyes read it once, then twice. Her fiancé, Adrian Langford, hadn't mentioned a dinner, but she was used to it. Lately, he was full of silences and clipped sentences. Still, she dressed to impress. An elegant navy silk dress hugging her curves, high heels clicking like a warning shot across the marble floors of the Langford estate. She thought it was a family affair, until she entered the dining hall. Dozens of eyes turned toward her. Corporate elites, Langford relatives, and, at the head, Adrian, with a woman at his side. Not her. Adrian, she greeted, voice calm despite the ice settling in. Her spine. Sienna, have a seat. Dinner passed in hushed murmurs and awkward glances. Adrian barely looked at her. The woman beside him, Delilah Voss, smirked like she'd won a prize. Dessert hadn't even been served when Adrian rose from his seat, tapping a spoon against a wineglass. I'd like to make an announcement, he said, clearing his throat. As of today, my engagement with Sienna Reyes is officially ended. The silence was deafening. Sienna blinked once, twice, then smiled. Wonderful, she said, rising to her feet. A man who doesn't love me isn't worth keeping. Gasps echoed around the room. Adrian paled. Delilah's smirk faltered. I hope you two find what you're looking for, Sienna said, her voice clear and proud. Though I doubt it'll be in each other. And with that, she walked out, heels steady, head high. Outside, under the weight of the moon, she allowed a single tear to fall. Just one. Then never again. The following days blurred into one. Gossip headlines bloomed like poisonous flowers. Heiress dumped by Langford at family dinner. Sienna Reyes, jilted. But stunning. Langford chooses. Model Delilah over powerhouse fiancé. Sienna ignored them all. Instead, she returned to the old Reyes estate, untouched since her mother's passing. It smelled of lilacs and forgotten ambition. She sat in her mother's armchair, clutching a photo of her parents. They'd built Reyes Holdings together before scandal broke it apart. Now it was Sienna's again, forgotten by many, feared by the right people. Let them talk, she whispered. I'll make them eat their words. It wasn't about revenge. It was about resurrection. Weeks passed. Sienna refused interviews, declined invitations, and quietly filed to reinstate Reyes Holdings under her control. Adrian hadn't reached out. Good. She changed her number, cut her hair, started wearing black to symbolize mourning for the woman she used to be, and to mark the beginning of a new empire. She hired the best, fired the corrupt, and rebranded. The Reyes name began showing up again, in tech deals, in real estate investments, in circles Adrian thought he ruled. And then one day, she walked into the atrium building. A new meeting, a new opportunity. That's when she met him. He was already seated in the conference room when she arrived. Gray suit, loosened tie, sharp jawline, deep eyes. Milo Cassian, he said, standing and offering his hand. Investor, a fan of clean comebacks. Are you a fan of women humiliated in public? She asked bluntly. He grinned. Only if they rise like phoenixes. Sienna tilted her head, intrigued despite herself. She didn't believe in fairy tales, but she respected power, especially the kind that saw her as an equal. They discussed numbers, projections, terms, then coffee, then dinner, not as lovers, as allies. Yet news spread quickly. Sienna Reyes seen with mystery investor. Adrian read the article, fury curling his lip. Delilah pouted across the room, whining about negative PR and missed events. I thought you loved me, she said. He didn't answer. Because truth was, he didn't love anyone, not even himself. He'd watched Sienna walk away with dignity, and every day since, his world felt emptier. Delilah was beautiful but shallow. Sienna had depth, fire, strategy, soul. And now she had another man by her side. Adrian picked up his phone and dialed her old number. Disconnected. She was gone. Truly, gone. Sienna sat on the rooftop garden of her reclaimed estate, phone off, laptop open. The Reyes name was beginning to echo again in investor circles, this time not with pity, but respect. "Milo," she said during their next strategy session, "I want to outbid Langford Tech for the Kerrigan deal. That will cause a stir. I want to cause a storm." He laughed, leaning back. "You're dangerous." "I'm necessary." Their eyes met. Electric, but business came first. And revenge? That was never her goal. She simply wanted the world to remember she was never a pawn. She was always a queen. Delilah was unraveling. She'd thought Sienna was a pushover, a wallflower with too much class and not enough teeth. But now the business headlines stung like lashes. Reyes Holdings dominates Langford bid. Langford stocks drop after Reyes surprise takeover. Adrian came home later each night. He stopped smiling, stopped pretending. "Do you miss her?" Delilah whispered. Adrian didn't answer. Did he miss Sienna? Yes, but more than her presence, he missed her belief in him. With her, he had purpose. With Delilah, he had noise. He opened his laptop. The image on the screen was Sienna, gorgeous in black, next to Milo Cassian. Smiling, Sienna's phone buzzed. A private number, she answered, expecting business. Instead, "You've made powerful enemies, Miss Reyes." She didn't flinch. They should have made better choices. The caller hung up. Later, Milo handed her a file. "Langford's quietly leaking your past family scandals to investors. He's trying to ruin your credibility." She scanned the dossier, heart-tightening, but not breaking. "Then let's expose what he wants to keep hidden." Sienna orchestrated an anonymous leak, a string of emails revealing Adrian's mismanagement of funds, favoritism, and insider deals with Delilah. The media devoured it. Langford's board summoned him. He was falling, and she wasn't done. A charity gala. Old money, new opportunity. Sienna arrived in crimson, curves draped in silk and confidence. Cameras clicked. Whispers followed. Adrian was there too, without Delilah. He approached her with a glass of wine. "You look better," she offered. "That's what rising from ashes does." He winced. "I made a mistake." "Yes," she said. "You underestimated me. A beat. You're with him now?" "Milo?" Sienna smiled. "What I have now is someone who never made me beg for love." She turned, walking away, and Milo appeared at her side, as if summoned. "You good?" he asked softly. "Perfect." They danced, under chandeliers, among enemies, like lovers. Later that night, Milo walked her to her door. "You ever get tired of fighting?" he asked. "Fighting made me who I am. But does it make you happy?" She hesitated. No one had ever asked that. He leaned in, not to kiss her, but to whisper, "I want more with you. But I'll wait until you want it too." Then he walked away. For the first time in months, her armor cracked. And Sienna wondered, was it possible to choose peace without sacrificing power? Could love be a reward, not a trap? Adrian's world crumbled. His father stripped him of executive power. Delilah dumped him, on live television no less, claiming he ruined her career. Alone and furious, Adrian watched the empire he'd inherited crumble under the woman he cast aside. He arrived at her building, half drunk, half despairing. You don't get to win, he hissed when she stepped out of her car. Sienna didn't blink. I never wanted to beat you. I wanted to leave you. Adrian lunged. Milo was there in seconds. Fist, tension, restraint. Touch her again, and you'll need more than lawyers, Milo said, voice low. Adrian left. Broken, not just in pride, but soul. Boardrooms echoed with her decisions. Partnerships sealed with her signature. The Reyes crest was respected once more. Sienna stood at the top floor of the Reyes building, watching the city pulse below. Behind her, Milo entered quietly. Your quarterly numbers just went viral. You've built a miracle. No, she said. I remembered who I was. He stepped closer. You've won. Completely. Not yet, she said, turning. Then softly, do you still want more? His breath caught. Yes, she took his hand. Then come get it. They kissed, soft, burning, real. Not because she needed him, because she finally chose him. The weeks that followed were a strange lull. Sienna balanced power and tenderness, commanding, boardrooms by day and sipping wine with Milo by night. But scars still whispered. Milo noticed her hesitation. She was affectionate but guarded. He asked her once, "What are you afraid of?" That it's real, she confessed, because real things break. Milo leaned in. Then let's make it unbreakable. But the past wasn't done yet. Troy. A press conference. Sienna's name was dragged again. Fabricated documents linked her to shady offshore funds. The media pounced, the headlines screamed, and in private, Adrian smirked. His last move had begun. Milo was furious. Someone inside your circle leaked this. Sienna said nothing, flipping through the fake reports. I'll fight this, he vowed. No, she said coldly. I will. She called a press conference, dressed in pure white, a contrast to the filth thrown at her. She stood before the world. Someone wants me silenced, she said. But I have nothing to hide. She released her real financial audits, impeccable. Then revealed who did use those shell companies, Adrian Langford. A reporter gasped. Do you have proof? She smiled. Milo stepped forward, holding a USB, Do Langford Industries plummeted. Investigations launched. Board members resigned. Adrian was summoned for questioning. Delilah, once more in headlines, gave an exclusive. He lied to me too. Adrian's father publicly disowned him. And Sienna? Her value tripled. Investors called her a visionary. The woman who'd been humiliated was now the name on everyone's lips. But it wasn't vindication that drove her. It was freedom. She walked through her rebuilt empire like a sovereign, gracious, untouchable. At a rooftop event, Milo offered her champagne. Anything else you want, Empress? She smiled. Just you. But no thrones. Just quiet. He was a shadow of himself. Hollow eyes, unshaven jaw, alone in a penthouse he couldn't afford. One night, drunk and bitter, he tried again. He called her. She answered. Curious. I loved you, he whispered. No, she replied. You loved control. And I gave it to you, thinking it was love. He was silent. Then, would you have stayed if I hadn't broken it off? She hesitated. Yes, she admitted. But I'm glad you did. He wept, and she hung up. Because closure isn't always soft. Sometimes it's clean. Sienna visited her mother's grave. For the first time in years, she didn't cry. She spoke instead. You were right. I was always enough. At home, Milo waited, dinner warm, music low. You look peaceful, he said. I let go. she whispered. She looked around, at the home she rebuilt, the peace she earned. She sat beside him, head on his shoulder. "This is what real love feels like," she said. "Not fireworks, just warmth. Trust." He kissed her temple. And choice. The media speculated. Cassian heir and Reyes queen, secretly engaged. They weren't. Not yet. But when Milo took her hand during a quiet morning walk, he said, "I want forever, but only when you say yes." She smiled. "Then keep walking beside me, one step at a time." And he did. Together they faced whispers, interviews, even sabotage attempts. But nothing could shake them now. Because what they built wasn't based on need. It was chosen, earned, real. Months later, Sienna was invited to a televised panel on women in power. The host asked, "If you could say one thing to the man who ended your engagement, what would it be?" She paused, then smiled. "Thank you." The audience hushed, because when he walked away, he freed me. I didn't lose him. I found myself. Applause thundered. Milo watched from backstage, eyes shining. Later, she walked off stage and straight into his arms. "No regrets," he whispered. "Only that I didn't walk away from him sooner." They laughed and kissed. No audience, no cameras, just them. In a sweeping corporate move, Sienna rebranded the company, Reyes Legacy. No longer Reyes Holdings, no longer a remnant of the past. This was hers now. She stood before her employees, in a sharp emerald suit, power and grace in one form. "My father's name gave me a start," she said. "But what I've built on my own." Applause thundered. Cameras flashed. Milo waited outside with coffee. "You know," he said, "the world's a little obsessed with you." She smiled, taking the cup. "Good, let them be." Power, when it's owned without apology, becomes peace. He took her to the coast, just the two of them. No phones, no press, no titles. They sat by the fire pit, waves crashing gently in the distance. And then Milo turned to her, holding a small, velvet box. "No press," he said. "No pressure. Just this. Will you let me walk beside you forever?" Sienna looked at the ring, then at the man who never tried to tame her. Tears slipped free, not because she was unsure, but because it felt finally safe to want. "Yes," she said, not because she needed to, because she chose to. They didn't send invitations. They eloped, barefoot on a cliff in Capri, vows whispered over crashing waves. No grand declarations, just truth. Milo spoke. "First, I never wanted to own your light. I just wanted to bask in it." Sienna replied, "You never tried to fix me. You let me fight. You let me fall. But you never left." They kissed, sealing a union not of perfection, but of strength and softness entwined. Later, as they danced alone beneath a string of warm lights, Sienna whispered, "This time it's mine. All of it. Even the love." Months later, Adrian showed up at her office, a shadow from a broken past. He looked lost. "I wanted to say sorry," he muttered. Sienna folded her arms. "For what? The humiliation? The betrayal? The way you doubted my worth?" "All of it." She studied him. "I forgive you." His eyes lifted, hopeful. "But that doesn't mean you get a second chance." "I know," he said quietly. "You're different now." "No," she said, standing. "I'm the same. You just never saw me clearly." And with that, she turned her back. Not in bitterness. In closure. Years passed. Sienna built an empire that echoed globally. A venture capital initiative in her mother's Name: a mentorship network for women. A wellness retreat tucked in the mountains. She never gave up power, but she never gave up love either. She and Milo worked side by side, laughed until morning, argued, then grew stronger. Celebrated little wins like first date anniversaries. One evening, she stood on the same rooftop garden where it all began. Milo joined her. "Would you change anything?" he asked. Sienna thought. "I wouldn't stop him from ending the engagement," she said. "That moment broke me. And from the pieces, I built someone I like better." He smiled. "You didn't just survive him. You surpassed him." She took his hand. "I stayed." He looked at her puzzled. "Stayed?" "I stayed kind. I stayed open. I stayed me." A pause. That's the real win. And beneath the stars, the girl once discarded, once overlooked, finally became the woman who stayed, in her power, in her truth, and in love.